Today's guest is a retired three-star general, the former head of the Defense Intelligence Agency and the National Security Advisor under the Trump administration, General Michael Flynn. General Flynn, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Rebecca, and to the entire Association of Mature American Citizens, all the listeners, you're looking at one. So I want everybody to know that I'm 64 years old. I'm actually dressed like this without a suit and tie on today because I just finished working out. So, one of the most important things that you do every day is taking care of yourself. And I'm very, probably my military discipline and my life of just staying fit. And I think as we get older, it's super important. But I became aware of AMAC. And I don't know, I think you guys have like 2.3 million members. Your dad was a terrific person. And, I'm telling you something that but I really, I am blown away. And I'm also inspired that you have taken on this role and you are continuing it, because I think that what we do need is we need an alternative to what the other organization has become. And the other organization has become, and there's probably people on here that maybe were part of that until they jumped over to AMAC. But they actually spew a lot of anti-American propaganda. And I have children and grandchildren. The generation that now must stand up for this country and actually get sort of re-engage. And I run this other organization. We call it the Reawaken America Tour, and maybe some of your subscribers have, or some of your members have attended some of our events. We just had a beautiful one up in Nashville, Tennessee. We had 5,000 wonderful people there. But the generation that I represent in business or in the military or in other walks of life, in medicine or whatever, the legal professionals out there, and we now have to join the country again. Because without this generation, without my generation, without these, the association, the body of mature American citizens that are out there to re-engage this country, then there's a chance that we lose it, right? And that's the fact of life in the history of nation states. I joke sometimes, but I'm not joking anymore. I would go, have you ever met anybody from the Byzantine Empire, right? Have you ever met anybody from the Athenian Empire? Have you ever met anybody from the Roman Empire? And the answer is no. So we have this beautiful American empire. We are an experiment in democracy according to our founders. We are a constitutional republic according to our Constitution. And we have allowed our representative government, those who we have elected for decades, we've sort of become apathetic and lazy. And I mean that. I don't mean to be, to be mean about it. What I mean is that we have to re-engage in order for our country to continue on the way we want it to continue on.
And General, your experience really as the target of coordinated media attacks and fabricated intelligence leaks, that really opened the eyes of Americans to the possibility that our own agencies can be used against their own citizens. A question for our listeners and many Americans have is, what did that experience feel like for you to be targeted the way that you were?
Yeah, it was really, after 3.5 decades of my life serving the country, 5 of those years were in direct combat overseas. And most people don't know I was appointed twice by President Obama to 2 very, very important positions, one of which was to head one of the largest intelligence agencies in the world, and twice fully confirmed, 100% by the United States Senate. And just over a year after I retired from the military, I'm the target of an investigation. I mean, one of the things that as they went through it, and it's all, if people really followed it deeply, I mean, they never found even an unpaid parking ticket, right? So what did it feel like? It felt really, I was really more ashamed for our country because we're better than that. But what we learned and actually what they did to me, it was such a high profile attack that it actually backfired on the enemy. And that's typically what happens to evil. One of the things about power hungry, greedy people is that arrogance is their downfall, and what they cannot control is what they fear. And so they lost control of what it was happening, and they began to fear. And then obviously I ended up coming out of it. But a lot of people, when somebody reads an article about Mike Flynn, the media will go, he lied to the FBI and he was pardoned by Trump. Actually, the entire thing is so much more complex, and I'll tell that story in fair detail one day. But the dismissal by the Department of Justice of my case essentially says in the dismissal that a crime was committed against General Flynn, and we're sorry that we committed that crime, and it was done by our own people in our own Department of Justice and the FBI. So that's the essence of the dismissal. But then the judge that was in my case, the judge then became like a French judge. The French judicial system has the judge is the judge, jury, and executioner. So then the judge in my case and the judiciary then took responsibility for it and would not let me go, and went and dragged me and my family for another 8 months, and had no authority to really be able to do it, because he could not do anything else. The executive branch, the Department of Justice, had already dismissed it. So this is the time when you really have to understand who you are. And my wife and I have been together since we were 13 years old. So we've been married almost 42 years. So, we know who we are. We don't care about how others look at us or define us. So I've always been one to define myself. So I knew, and she knew. So we were able to withstand extraordinary pressure that people would, I don't ever want anybody ever to withstand it. But because of that our relationship with because of our faith, because of the strength of my family. I'm one of 9 brothers and sisters. My wife is one of 7. Everybody joined together. In big families, sometimes it's not as pretty as that, but we joined together because, everybody knows who I am, so,
Sure.
and I know who I am. So that helped carry the day. And now as everybody sees what's happening to America, it goes back to what I talked about previously. We are what Mike Flynn experienced is really what America is experiencing right now. And what I feel my path, because I always say that our destiny is determined before we're born. So what path I'm on, and it's not a path that I necessarily would have chosen, but it's a path that I'm on. So I now feel responsible, and maybe that goes back to my military upbringing. But I feel responsible to stay on this journey and to now continue to encourage people to say, look, there will be tough times in our lives, but we can overcome these. And because this is not politics is normal situation for America. This is different.
We understand that it is one thing to be aware of like an existential threat, right? And another to be hit, in a recurring or consistent way with what amounts to a threat from within. And with the erosion of our First Amendment from big tech and other bad actors attempting to decide what is and isn't disinformation, we truly are living through a real war
No, it's
right
crazy.
here.
It's crazy. It's crazy. And so because I'm going to have to jump, and I really appreciate you guys allowing me to come on. But one thing about the First Amendment that I want to bring out, the First Amendment is broken down into 5 parts. But the very first part of the First Amendment, because we typically say the First Amendment is freedom of speech and all that, which it is. But the very first component of the First Amendment is our ability to practice our faith. Okay? So when the founders the founders were so brilliant, the very first component of the First Amendment is our faith. Is this idea of our ability to practice our faith, and it's just so. It's like talk about divine intervention or something that is such. It's like a miracle that as they created this wonderful experiment that we are all a part of, they just knew where to begin.
I know that you're pressed for time, sir. I want to ask you one final question before we let you go, and we will certainly be having you back. What do you see is really shaking out in the coming months and year? And are you hopeful for the future of this great country?
Yeah, I'm very hopeful because I know who wins at the end. I would just say that I am the eternal optimist when it comes to the United States of America because of the people of this country. In our DNA, or part of our DNA, is something that we all have, and that's called common sense. Right? All of this complexity, all of this noise that we hear from different angles that are sort of attack our mental psyche every day, our emotional psyche every day. People in this country still have, good God-given common sense. And that's what I want people to continue to apply. If it doesn't feel right, it's probably not right, but if it, looks like a duck, quacks like a duck, it's a duck, right? I mean, don't don't overthink. Uh, you know, do it based on your gut. It's not just this gut feel. Somebody described that as a God feel, but there's a woman's intuition. There's the spidey senses that you get. I mean, if you know something is not right, then it's probably not right. That's the beauty of an American, of the DNA of every American citizen. We have good common sense, and I want people to apply it. That, along with the desire for freedom and the desire for faith, is what's going to carry the day, and that's what's going to win this war that is waging all around us. And there's a gigantic spiritual component to it.
There sure is. General, before you go, tell our members how they can get their hands on your great book. We'll put a picture of that here up on the screen, and
Okay.
perhaps how they can engage in what you're doing in this great fight.
Yeah. Well, I have a website, generalflynn.com, and people can go there and they can purchase this new book I have. It's a bestseller. It's called The Citizen's Guide to Fifth Generation Warfare, and it's a terrific book. And I also have a couple other books on there. One is, I call it Letter to America. It's kind of a love letter to America because after everything that I went through, I explain in that book how I got through it in detail. And then my first bestseller was big time bestseller was The Field of Fight. So that's about warfare, and I do bring in aspects of personal issues along with our sort of national, international issues in that particular book. So generalflynn.com, and they can get the latest book, The Citizen's Guide to Fifth Generation Warfare, 5GW. And I really appreciate your time, Rebecca, and your audience and your members. And I just look forward to having other conversations with you.
We sure will have you back. I look forward to that. Thank you so much, General Flynn. Great to see you. Have a blessed day.
God bless.
Thank you. If you enjoyed this episode, you can listen to more just like it. Check us out on iTunes, Spotify, or by downloading the AMAC app. Don't forget to follow us on social media. Until next time, I'm Rebecca Weber. This is your podcast, Better for America. Thank you for being here. Have a wonderful evening.